Many thanks for joining us on Joyasonyelive this beautiful evening. I'm sure you already have learnt about this protest, the Nigerian Labour Congress protest, in spite of the federal government's effort to ensure that that protest was shelved. Some states across the country indeed embarked on that protest today. According to those who protested, or the organizers, which is the NLC, the TUC, and some blocs that had joined that protest, they want the intervention from fuel subsidy removal to be expedited, as not much has been done and Nigerians are suffering. Although a lot of people had supported the end of the fuel subsidy regime, the question is, what indeed was Nigeria expecting? What intervention can be rolled out quickly just so that economic activities are not stifled? We'll be discussing all of this with Honorable Shehu Attah, member APC and convener Bola Tinubu School to School. He's right here with us with what I have mentioned, his description. He brought upon us the president. You are one of the people that brought upon us the president. So you are the right person to explain his policies and how it is pinching us. So welcome to the studio.
I'm happy for that title you gave us, that we are one of the people that brought upon you this president, and exactly. I'm proud of that. I wasn't saying it so that, of course, he won, so there's no reason to back out now. Usually, it's failure that does not have do not have friends. We'll go for a short break right now and return to go in depth into the story, the strike protest rather that was that commenced earlier, the impact on the economy and the way forward. We'll be right back. The NLC went ahead with this protest in spite of negotiations and talks by the federal government. Honorable Shehu Attah, it's wonderful to have you again joining us. But what happened, it seemed like before now, before this protest, the NLC seemed to have a good relationship with the government. I remember when the president emerged, he had this very interesting meeting where everybody was smiling after that meeting. Seems that relationship is going sour. What do you think? I would say that the relationship has gone sour, but I would say that we're making progress. You know, we're making progress because as it is now, we're all Nigerians. Every household is feeling the pinch of the removal of fuel subsidy and the fallout from that. You know, it's okay for NLC to protest like peaceful, very peaceful, sincere, peaceful protest is allowed in a democratic process or system. You know, so that is the only way the citizens can express their grievances in a very peaceful manner, you know, so it's allowed. But we were thinking that since this government is a listening government, you know, like you remember what happened when they were going to give the 8,000 naira palliative, cash palliative. I know like the outcry, Nigerians don't want that they want more, something more sustainable. You know, that was accepted, and the president makes announcement that they will review the issue of the palliative again, and they will address that. So that should have been an indication that this is a listening government. You know, for a government that was sworn in on 29th of May, we are just barely 60 days actually just about 60 days in power. In power,
about 62 days also.
You get, and you know, don't forget that before the expiry of the last administration, the outgone President Muhammad Buhari already signed into law that subsidy was going to be removed by 31st of June. So as a new president coming in, just trying to settle in, to even check the books, to see what's happening, you know, the issue of subsidy was already on the table.
Well, it was self-inflicted.
I'm saying now,
yes, like he wasn't on the table. It
wasn't even on the table because it was going to be on the table because it was going to be on the table because the outgoing President Muhammad Buhari had already signed into law that by the end of June,
Nigerians wanted that 1 month to understand it.
But then, whether we like it or not, subsidy was going to happen.
Right.
You get it was going to happen. So we're only procrastinating on the evil day, right? But it was going to come. You get, so as that happened, the fallouts, you know, caused the hike in the pump price, you know, the other fallout like inflation, difficulty in transportation and all that has posed a lot of challenge to Nigerians, and it's understandable that there is a voice trying to, you know, represent the voice of the masses, because we're all feeling the impact. But then in trying to do that, it should be as democratic as possible. Like and secondly, and me personally, I was like, okay, since the government has already opened up a medium of communication, a committee has already been set up. Right. You know, they had the first meeting, everybody was excited, like you rightly mentioned, and all of a sudden they want to go on a protest. The best way I would, if I was in the position of the NLC president, you know, I would have said, okay, since there's already an opening, and government just about 3 days ago came out with laudable initiative as palliative measure, as immediate measure to cushion the effect of this subsidy removal. I'm sure you're going to delve into that later.
I will.
You get, so, you know, we're appealing to NLC.
Right.
We're appealing to the NLC that we're all in this together. You get, we're all paying this price. But like a child's birth, when a mother go into pregnancy and you know, she wants to give birth, this is just like the pains the mother go through in labor. But in a very short while, if all hands is on deck, including NLC, because they have to give peace a chance, so that this government can push forward with the initiative for him to create a sustainable economy for the country, and create opportunities that will absorb a lot of our youths into productive sector. So that is the focus. Right.
I like that you mentioned the analogy of a woman giving birth and the pain, the transient pain, until this child is born. But this child seems to be in the 10th month, when a child should normally be on the 9th.
You know, like Joy, if you look at let me just take one out of several measures that the government is already planning. You know, the government said that he was going to look he was going to budget 50 billion naira, right? 50 billion between next month, when August okay, July. You get from July this month till March 2024. That is starting immediately. That he's going to plan for nano businesses. What are nano businesses? We are talking about that guy, a cobbler that is fixing your shoe. He's going to be given 50,000 naira grant that he can access immediately now. You know, from now to March next year, he's going, a cobbler like the normal roadside tailor can access 50,000. That's nano businesses.
Exactly.
You get. So I believe by the time the ministers have been screened and the minister gets their portfolio, because this is systemic. Even if Ashwadi was going to announce policy the next day of palliative, you still need his ministers to be able to implement. Who's going to implement without ministers?
I don't know if we should go into the ministers' conversation now, but you have brought it. The president waited until the last minute to submit this list, this ministerial list, to the Senate. And Nigerians expected, like he had said over and over, that he was going to hit the ground running. And in fact, on the second day, he would still be running from hitting the ground and all of that. So Nigerians actually thought he had his cabinet in his head ready. All he needed was to emerge president and everything will be set. And would you say that this late ministerial submission is also another ploy, sort of, to gather, because in his national broadcast he also told us that he had been able to save about over 1 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidy in 2 months. Was it intentional?
Well,
just to hold on just yet?
No, if you, I think the general belief or the acceptability level of Ashwadi so far since his inception, May 29th, since he became the president is that he actually hit the ground running. He actually hit the ground running.
That's in your opinion?
Yes, no, general opinion. A lot of people, that's the general opinion. You know, and the job of choosing your cabinet, your team, that is going to deliver on this, your assignment, is not something you just hurry overnight and assemble. In fact, if he was even going to wait till the last day before he releases his ministerial list, is allowed, because he is choosing his first 11. He's choosing his own team that is going to work with. I know the task ahead of him is huge, is enormous. So we need to assemble competent people. And from the list so far, we're all proud that the second list just came out. You know, we have so many prominent names there, and we believe young people were given opportunity. I believe that with the kind of ministers he has nominated for approval by the National Assembly, the team is set to deliver good governance to Nigeria. The new hope is her. Okay,
like we're still talking about this ministerial list, and portfolios were not attached to the names, which is another process that we know how our politicians work. Very often you see them negotiating again, lobbying again for certain ministerial positions. Rather,
I think for the issue of for the ministerial, for the ministry, that is portfolio, is not like, even for people outsiders, you can begin to guess.
I cannot.
You know, yes, we can get like Prof Pate, Muhammad Pate now, for instance, that was just been screened today. You can guess 99% that he's going to Ministry for Health.
Right.
Yes. So for Malam Nasir El-Rufai, for instance, that was screened yesterday, you can guess, because of the kind of questions that were asked in the course of their screening, you can guess that, okay, he's going to power and energy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you know, so you have a lot of them like that you can begin to guess approximately, and you'll be more than 70% correct that this is the ministry they are going to. So the issue of assigning portfolio is not something that is going to be very Herculean. It's something that can be consummated overnight. Just like Ashwaju appointed his special advisors before he gave some other offices substantive or promoted to substantive offices. Yes, so that can be assigned overnight.
Okay, so you are saying that we're not going to see another long period before we see these ministries, so that Nigerians can get this intervention?
Yes, because systemically we need the ministers, like even for the question of this issue of labor, the protest, is the Minister for Labor that should be addressing them. Right. So this should be the one going to and fro with them, so that at every point in time they will know where they are in terms of government policy to address this immediate fallout of subsidy removal. But I want to believe that between now and 2 weeks, everything the minister will have gotten their portfolios, and will be on our way to.
For some, 2 weeks still is a very long time. But let's talk about the fact that when NLC had the first meeting and they were smiling, and Nigerians were like, is this NLC for us or against us? Fuel was at the time at 570 naira. It seemed like after that we saw the 620 naira increment. We're still waiting for the market pressures that was advised, that when market would determine the prices of fuel, and so far we're not seeing it come up. And we've also heard voices say this could get as much as 800 and 1,000 naira. Do you think that is why they are crying out? And we've also started hearing voices of people asking for a reversal of the policy. Let's go back to subsidy until we are ready. We do not seem to be ready.
You know, we thank Almighty God for giving us somebody, a political leader, a president like Ashwaju at this very point in time, because we're actually between the devil and the deep blue sea, you know. So the two choices for us were going to be very hard choices, like subsidy removal, removing the double rates for exchange rates, you know, removing the subsidy. Right. So these were two. You can agree with me, like as at the time we're having the 2 rate for dollar. What it means is that for people, for the elite of the elites that were elites that were implicated in the naira round tripping, we're actually collecting dollar from the CBN,
right,
and coming out to the black market to make some good money. And
they were making a lot of money.
You know, that's just it. The only thing you need to do is just to start your car, drive to the CBN, collect your dollar.
No, it depends on who you know that knows who is supposed to do it.
So that was removed. We all agree that that has to go. That is the double rate for naira, and the fuel subsidy. We all agree that has to go, right? We all agree that it has to go. So the two of them have gone. So now what is left for the president is for us to face reality. You know, it's for us to face reality, and that is exactly what the president is doing, and coming up with the issue of the palliative and all that. But on the increase on the hike in the price of fuel, you know, the naira has been floated, and for all products coming into the country now, it's being sold. Is that what it means is that the importers of this product are actually assessing the currency at the floated rate.
Exactly.
So what it means is that the cost of importing these PMS into the country now has actually gone up, because it has been left for market forces to take care of. But then that is why the government is trying to initiate or come up with the issue of the palliative to cushion the effect on Nigerian. And aside from that, the refineries, the one of Kaduna, the one of Warri, the one of Port Harcourt, have been profiled to be a certain percentage ready to be repaired, and I think most of them, some of them will come on stream by 2024 next year, and others subsequently, that is, they will now wrapped up in terms of volumes of production and all that. But what I'm saying now is the president is on record that the president has got some credible names on he's going to get some credible names in his cabinet. One of them,
we do not know. We are waiting for you.
One of them is the minister, the person that is being proposed for Minister for Finance, Edun. You know, so he's somebody that has track record. He's somebody that has done a lot of. He was the commissioner in Lagos State when Asiwaju was the governor between 1999 and 2007. He's Wale Edun. So he's from Ogun State. He's a financial expert. He's an economist. He's somebody that has turned around the financial architecture of Lagos. He was instrumental in turning around the financial architecture of Lagos, and his policies that he implemented when he was the commissioner of finance in Lagos was part of the policies that have sustained Lagos till date. So he's been profiled. That kind of person is being profiled as going to be the next minister for finance. So we can expect that, you know, the country is going to manage its liquidity. The country is going to manage foreign direct investment.
Right.
The country is going to plug loopholes. The country is going to expand the tax net, not necessarily increasing taxes, but it's going to expand tax nets. So we can ensure we're going to expect that there's going to be more revenue to the federal government. So what that translates to is that we're going to the foreign reserve is going to improve, you know, if we are patient enough. So if foreign reserve improve, what it means that that can stabilize our exchange rate. So if exchange rate drops, so that means by the country managing its finances very well, exchange rate can drop and the price of fuel will drop. So these are not people that have no track record. They have track record. They have done this in Lagos. They can do it on a larger scale in Nigeria, and that is why we are optimistic that we are not gambling. You know, Asiwaju is not gambling. Asiwaju has credibility. Asiwaju has capacity. Asiwaju has done it in the past. He's not somebody that is saying it from the books. He's not talking about books. He's talking about reality.
Right.
It's something he has done before. So it's now for him to do it on a larger scale. Okay. And that is our prayer. So all hands have to be on deck. We are praying. We are pleading to NLC that they should please maybe just calm down for Baba will get things right.
Exactly, but we would understand why Nigerians can be a little weary, or the NLC is looking at the government with no clear policy direction. It seems like they are gambling, but you just say now that Asiwaju is not gambling, especially when they reeled out that policy of 8,000 naira cash palliatives before Nigerians came up.
You could Nigerians were asking on that one, for instance. that when the 8,000 naira palliative measure was going to be announced,
why was it initiated in the first place?
No, Nigerians were looking at it. Okay, 8,000 naira. What happened after 6 months? Like I've written by 8,000 naira. What happened after 6 months? So you'll have killed, you'll have thrown away a lot of billions, and at the end of the day, you cannot see anything physical to account for that. So you could see that the government listened to the street. Before the street. Look at what happened. Like consistently, if you remember, Ashwadu for all the fora he has gone to, he said he's going to maintain an open door policy. We
will get to the open door policy. Who advised him in the first place? Cash palliatives has never worked in Nigeria. So you can understand why the NLC is saying, we know, we have heard your national broadcast.
Joy, that's $800 million.
Right.
That 500 billion naira was going to come from the World Bank.
It was.
I get it. And when the World Bank gives you money, they have their own conditions. That is, they call in the bank, they call it conditions precedents to draw down. Before you can access that money, you have to fulfill A, B, C, D, E, F conditions.
Right.
You know, since the money is it's not a free money, it's coming from the World Bank.
And it's a loan.
It's a loan. I get it. So, and in the bank, if you want to take a bank loan, they will tell you conditions precedents to approval and conditions precedents to draw down. You first fulfill the approval condition. If the approval conditions is fulfilled, then you move to the next one, condition precedents to draw down, or that you're going to draw the money. Before you draw this money, the World Bank will be telling the country, before you spend this money on so thing, these are the conditions. You have to pay 8,000 naira to your database of extremely poor people. You get, you have to do this, you have to do that. So it's not left for you as a sovereign nation, you know, as the president of the country. You have to announce the offer you got first. Obviously, that is what the government of President Muhammadu Buhari handed over to Asiwaju. You get, and you have to address the nation. Look, the palliative that has been approved for this $800 million coming is 8,000 naira per individual. So for the poor of the poor, you have to announce that to Nigerians. So it was good that the outcry came, that Asiwaju listened, that he said they are going to readdress that issue of palliative to ensure that there is a proper design so that it will give Nigerians maximum impact.
Okay. It's time to go for a short break right now. This is still Joyasonye Live here on Kaftan Television. We'll be back to discuss more on the NLC strike and how we can move forward from this and get that cushioning effect we've been praying for. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that. Well, there's a reason why Nigerians are often very weary about protests. Earlier today, protesters pulled down the first gate of the National Assembly complex in Abuja and forced their way into the premises. These are some of the reasons that bring that security breach that Nigerians are very afraid of. Although they seem to have, like my guest has actually alluded to, very pungent reasons and legitimate reasons why they had to go for the protest. How can we ensure that we have better ways of protesting so it doesn't go left? Honorable Shehu Attah, member APC and convener Bola Tinubu school to school. Yeah. So how did you feel when you heard that?
Yes, I felt very bad about that because, you know, the reason why I felt bad about it is that the stakeholders of this protest, the NLC, the president, I saw the picture, I saw him there, Joe Ajero, and the TUC president, I saw some prominent faces there, you know, from opposition party, you know, and I saw faces there, you know. So, but then you will ask ourselves question, what is the objective of the protest? Do we want to do this to spoil Nigeria, or we want to do this to build Nigeria, to get a better country? So you going to the National Assembly, pulling up the gate of National Assembly, that's going to be, even though it was just like, I don't know what happened there. I was not at the scene, but I've seen the video partially. Yeah. You know, but then that was the very bad optics for the promoters of this protest, especially for the leadership of the NLC. You know, this was supposed to be a very peaceful, democratic protest. And you see that the law enforcement agent, in order for them to because other Nigerians want to go about their businesses in peace. They want to go out to get their food, means of livelihood, you know. So you should give, you should be considerate to consider the plight of other Nigerians when you want to go on embark on a protest. So that was why it would have been better for us to dialogue. There's already a window of dialogue, so why go to protest? So if the objective of your protest is for peace, is to remove the sufferings of Nigerians, you go to National Assembly, an arm of government, to go and pull off the gate. That's an invitation to anarchy, you know. And to be very sincere with you, that was a bad optics, you know. I think the NLC should have a rethink. This is about Nigerians. This is about us. Right. We are all in this together. The similitude, the example is like we have our house, God forbid, on Inferno, and everybody, we are all within this house. Our priority should be like, we should put this light off first, this fire off first. Then before it's not like some people are trying to put off the fire and others are trying to drag them down, you know. So the best approach for us to address this challenge we all have as Nigerians, the best way to go forward is to go back on the table, NLC should go back to the table with the federal government. They should find an amicable way forward. And while doing all this, all hands should be on deck, you know, for us to be able to give the president the necessary support to pull this through. As for the team of the president, we've seen the list. There are fantastic names there, and we believe that gradually this government will gather momentum, and the renewed hope we voted for will come.
Successive governments have not necessarily stood by their words when they make these promises.
Yes.
Do you think there's trust issues between the government and this administration? You
know, the only way you can project the future is to look backwards. You know, you cannot begin to project the future, what's likely to happen in the future, without looking at antecedents. What has Joy done in the past? Joy, she has worked in social media platform, she has worked in this social media platform, she has worked here. So this is the capacities of Joy. We believe with all Joy has done in the past, if you give her this responsibility, she will deliver more. That is, I'm speaking to your antecedents. Right? So the only way we can project Asiwaju's capacity and capability is through his own track record too, and coincidentally, and the track record of the Vice President Kashim Shettima. These men, our leaders, they have very wonderful track record. They have been senators in this country. They have occupied the position of the executive. They have great records of performance, excellent performance in their various states. So we believe that security-wise, Asiwaju will deliver, because he has an able and capable vice president that has been able to manage the menace of Boko Haram. And he has a wonderful national security advisor in the person of Malam Nuhu Ribadu that has a very wonderful, excellent track record of performance in the EFCC as the pioneer chairman of the EFCC. And we have Asiwaju that has been an executive governor of Lagos State, and we have seen the wonders he has done. And from the team he has assembled so far, you can see familiar name, the Wale Edons, the Professor Muhammad Patis, and other wonderful names, the Erofai's and the Governor Emai, the River State Governor. These are people that have track record of performance. So we believe that we're on the right track to growth, to recovery, to better security, and for economic prosperity for Nigeria.
Would you say strike action or protest ever works? Because the president has said what he has to say, reeling out the many intervention plans or packages that he has for Nigerians.
You are even talking about...
Would you say this protest would facilitate anything or make it any faster, or indeed even get to see the reversal of
in my own opinion, because you don't go protesting when you have a listening leadership, you have a listening president, a president that have consistently told you that he has maintained an open door policy from day one. It's not like you have a concern that you want to address, want the president to address with you, that he's not willing to open his door. consistently, Ashwaju came to the public that I'm going to maintain an open door policy.
Right.
Ajuri, you saw him yesterday. So this government, this government is going to maintain this government is government of for over 200 million Nigerians, and Ashwaju is going to maintain an open door policy. So since the government already create a platform for negotiation, the committee that have been set up to address the issue of the palliative and the fallout from the subsidy removal, I don't think that process that protest was needed in the first place, because they're already on dialoguing. You know, for the pace, the president is dialoguing with you and the ministerial list is out. The palliative we are talking about, the application is systemic. It's the ministers through their ministries, agencies, and parastatals that will implement this policy. So you cannot hire somebody on a permanent basis to come and do this. It's the minister that will still come and implement this. And that ministerial screening just happened today. And going forward, systemically, these policies, because already some of them are already taken off, the issue of the supply of food of 200,000 tons is already going on. The supply of input fertilizer, about 125,000 tons of that is going to be going on like from this month. You know, some of these policies are already going to take effect immediately. So why going on protest? Okay, well, the government has already opened up policy. So protest, as far as me, in my own opinion, protest should come if the government is not talking, if the government has not even opened door for you to negotiate, and if the government is not even listening at all and making responses. That is when you go on protest. So as far as government has opened this door for you, there is a platform for negotiation. There are measures that already been put in place to address this, and you can see that this is the government that has been working day and night from May 29 till date. Ashwaju has been on his feet. So what else do you want? You want this man to give you his blood?
So what do you think the way forward here is going to be for this
protest? The way forward here is that,
would the president still give them a voice, and would it be promising something more than he has already promised?
In my own opinion, I think this president is on the right track. The NLC should give peace a chance. They should accept the president's open doors policy. They should go back to negotiation, because it is in the interest of Nigerians that all hands should be on deck so that this issue will be addressed. So protest will either going to worsen the situation. So it's better for us to come back on the table, sit with the committee, transitional committee that will hand over to the substantive minister for labor, and I'm sure these issues are already on their way to be addressed.
Now you keep talking about the open door policy.
Yeah.
What is going to be different? I remember that the past administration also started saying that as well. We have the open door policy. You can always come to us with consent. What's going to be different? What should Nigerians expect this time?
Already we are
can Joyasonye just walk into the presidency to say, I have this consent, I think this is how you should tackle it?
Yeah, I think if you go the right way, you get that.
What is the right way?
Who
is my father?
No. I don't. That's when the government say open door policy, I think the government means it. And from the action of government, from action and pronouncement of government so far, you know the government means it. Action, he listened to Nigerians. The 8,000 naira was suspended, and the government they're going to put a better option in place to address that. The spokesperson, Ajuri, came back yesterday openly to announce to over 200 million Nigerians that this government has an open door policy. Open door policy in the sense that your media person, you have access to the presidency. If there are issues you need clarity, as a media professional, you can get your access to the presidency and get clarity from the media team. So that is what they mean by open door policy.
How about my mom, who is a retired nurse, who just probably, as maybe public health looks at the public health system of Nigeria and wants to advise the president.
Yeah, my mom is a retired nurse.
So we have that in common. So we have that in common. But I know I can get there. I'm a journalist. I would to get more information. There's the Freedom of Information Bill Act in Nigeria. So for me, maybe. However, I'm talking about my mother.
Like if your mother if she actually want to get to presidency, I think she can get there. That's an open door policy. She have to follow the necessary channel to get the security clearance.
That was not done for protesters.
No,
so had to break it down literally. You know, the irony of it. The irony of it was after announcing that we have an open door policy, protesters could not get in and had to really open the door themselves.
But that was National Assembly.
That was the National Assembly.
That was the National Assembly. That is the house of over 200 million Nigerians. What percentage of Nigerians were represented in that protest? I would say that they are not even up to 0.000000001%.
Oh, really?
Yes. They're not up to 0.0000001%.
Just like the House of Assembly has representation from every constituency.
What I'm saying now in essence is this. The number of people that went on that protest, the handful of people that went on that, we're talking about, this is a country of over 250 million Nigerians. Approximately. You get, and we have a handful of people going to the National Assembly of a house of over 250 million Nigerians to go and protest and remove the gate. Meanwhile, the National Assembly is already well represented because we all have our senators and we have our House of Rep members from our various constituencies and our senatorial zones. You get. So if we actually want to do a proper protest, we'll address this in a letter to the National Assembly. You don't have to go on the street.
Right. Do we ever get, I mean, it's still about these trust issues. Do we ever get anything done when you don't push or protest and all of that?
But that protest was already been taken over by the hoodlums. That means that even the NLC leadership could not control the manner in which the protest was going to happen. So that was why this protest was not even needed in the first place. Okay, let's talk about the fact that the president in his speech had also promised a salary increase, and in spite of that, there was this protest. Do you think there was a clear idea as to what the NLC is asking for? I'm a journalist, and it was difficult to put side by side what the NLC was asking with what the president had said he would offer. So there's a salary increase. You think? Do you think, in your words, that it's not enough? It is not enough. This afternoon, I watched the protest that happened in Kaduna State, and I watched the leadership of the NLC there asking for salary increase. Right. You know, so if that is the voice of NLC, because what I watched the NLC leadership in Kaduna saying was that they want a salary review in part of the video. So if that is NLC's request, that means it's in tandem with what the federal government is trying to address. You get, it's in tandem with what the federal government is addressing. And you cannot begin, and in the last president's speech, he still reminded Nigerians, and he reminded Nigerian workers, and he thanked the private sector for the support they've gotten so far in reviewing the private sector salaries. Yeah. And he went further to say that for public sector, the processes to review the salary is already in place. Obviously, we can guess that the president is waiting for the ministers to be given portfolio before this review. The president also
said he would engage with organized labor and also in collaboration with labor unions to introduce this new national minimum wage for workers.
So you could see that there's a discussion in that line, in the same direction. So that is why we are asking the question, why the protest?
My question would be, do you see a political undertone to this protest? Because like you said, we saw opposition also leading a block.
I think to be frank with you, to be very frank with you, in my own personal opinion, this is my opinion, you know, I have been following a lot of things. I have seen when the Labour Party was campaigning somewhere in Nigeria, and the NLC leadership was there. So I was not, on my own as an individual, I was not like, okay, if you could actually endorse the Labour Party's candidates, even though all the candidates, all the 4 major candidates, I mean the Rabiu Kwankwasos, the Atiku Abubakar, the Peter Obi, and the Ashiwaju himself promised subsidy removal.
Right.
And because that was their major campaign topic, the Atiku promised subsidy removal. Obi prominently promised subsidy removal.
In fact, he said the very day he steps in.
Kwankwaso promised subsidy removal, and Ashiwaju promised subsidy removal. So if you're not going on the street and you had already endorsed an Obi that has promised subsidy removal as the leadership of the NLC, the pictures is there in the media, and you're not coming out today to protest for the same, it's still going to be, if Obi came the first day and removed the subsidies, this is the challenge Nigerians were going to face.
But Obi is also telling you that the method was not right, that he would have ensured quickly
somebody that promised subsidy removal on the first day. So how was he going to implement his palliative measures?
He was just saying that it was taking too long.
Which agency's parastatal was going to do that?
It's taking too long, according to him, and that he would have ensured that the implementation of the cushioning effect is faster.
So that's it. So you could see that from what I can surmise from there is that I can see clearly that the leadership of the NLC is turning towards a particular opposition, and that is not good for our democracy, and that is not good for the situation of the country right now. And this situation ought not to be politicized, because we're all, at the end of the day, we're all in this together. So we should be praying for our president. We should be seen as a constructive opposition, an opposition that will tell you, okay, I punched like just like the punch holes in the 8,000 naira palliative. You have punch hole in this policy. This is not going to work like this. Why don't we do it like this? Why don't you do it? This is more constructive way of doing it. And that is the way, that is the only way we can move forward as a country. And I must confess to you, we've not gotten much of that from the opposition. And what it speaks to us is that the opposition needs to sit up. And let's have constructive opposition. And from records and from visuals and from the utterances and from appearances on political platform and campaigns, we have clearly seen that the NLC is leaning towards a particular opposition, and that is not too good for the constructive opposition we want in our democracy. Because for us to get out of this, we need to build a Nigeria that will work for all Nigerians. We need to build a Nigeria that will work for the youth of this country. We need to build a Nigeria that will work for the women of this country. We need to build a Nigeria that our mothers, our fathers in the villages that is surviving on subsistence agriculture can continually go to their farm without a fear of or threat to their lives. So that is the future we want to build for this country, and all hands have to be on deck.
Okay, finally, before I let you go, as we are really running out of time, what would be your final advice to workers who are indeed really suffering? I mean, I've seen workers who would have abandoned their vehicles and still are unable to pay the exorbitant transportation fees. I've seen people have to climb on trucks and they still pay for being on those trucks. It's been very, very despicable. I'm trying to get a lighter word, really.
So like you have rightly mentioned, Joy, is actually a very big challenging time for all of us. But I will want to use this opportunity to address two segments of the whole of this issue that we're all facing as Nigerians. I looked at it from the NLC point of view, and I will look at it from us point of view. I will repeat that this is like the pain of the childbirth. What the government has done is good, because all the other 4 or 3 oppositions promised the same policy. All the other 3 opposition promised that when they come to be the president of this country, they will ensure that we don't have this parallel exchange rates in the economy. And they all promised that they are going to remove the subsidy. And if they are going to do this, implement the same policy, what it means is that we're going to face the same consequence. what I will plead to Nigerians is this: we are all facing the same issue. Right. The NLC should, if they are working for our interest, should please return back to the negotiation table, because that is the only way forward. If they are actually working for us, because a day a man will spend out of his job is a loss to him, to himself, and to his family and the country. So if they are actually working for us, they should, the incentive for them representing us should be that for Nigerians to quickly move out of this. And for us to quickly move out of this, all hands has to be on deck. And for Nigerians too, like all of us, we are all affected. I'll plead that this is like the pain of, I'll continually emphasize that this is like the pain of the childbirth. When eventually this child is born, we are going to be happy. And from early indicators, we have seen that the government is on the right direction. The policies are going to work, and everybody will breathe eventually. Let the pop breathe.
You know, I love the way you ended is everybody will get to breathe. Yeah, I just want to breathe.
You can see like the government has already promised, has already budgeted over 100 billion for the procurement of about 3,000 CNG buses. You know, that is going to add, going to be reduce the transportation issue for the civil servant, for students. He's already saying that the students, for those that cannot even pay their school fees, they can access condition-free and single-digit loans that they will use for their school fees. So
that's the conversation we'll have the next time.
Actually on the right track, and I believe this government will
the next time you come, we'll delve into that conversation, especially how the state government can also be culpable. Everybody seems to be looking at the presidency. But for now, we have run out of time. Honorable Shehu Attah, member APC and convener Bola Tinubu School to School. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much. Looking forward for another time.
Be sure of that. So this is where we draw the curtains on Joyasonyelive here. We'll be back tomorrow with so much more. So do have a wonderful night rest and be ready for the day tomorrow.
Joy.